Hello and welcome to Eco-Terrorism. I'm Zeinab Bailoun. Last week we discussed waste management and we mentioned recycling as one option. Today we'll be discussing this option in further detail with Mr. Bassel Baaklini, General Manager of Contra, the company that initiated the Zero Waste Act program. Mr. Baaklini, thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you for having us.
So before we discuss recycling, let's take a quick look at this report.
Recycling is among the most useful waste management processes towards a more sustainable world. As the term indicates, recycling is the need for waste disposal and lowers the emission of greenhouse gases. Historically, local authorities used either to burn domestic garbage or to bury them into the ground. But some burnt garbage produce poisonous gas. Therefore, recycling aims at reducing the consumption of fresh raw materials, energy usage and air pollution, especially when it comes to incineration and water pollution from landfilling. The term recycle comes as the third component of waste hierarchy after the reduce and reuse, and a key component of modern waste reduction. Most of materials can be recyclable, such as glass, paper, and plastic. Usually, recycling any material would produce a fresh supply of the same material. For example, used office paper would be converted into new office paper, but other forms of recycling evolved throughout time. In this context, the Zero Waste Act is a waste segregation green project conducted with a number of private schools and universities in Lebanon, helping to raise awareness on massive environmental consequences faced by the sanitary system. This initiative is based on four key concepts: environmental sustainability, economic development, education, and personal advancement. The program encourages students to segregate their daily waste, and by doing so, they become active and responsible citizens of their communities. Nowadays, critics dispute the net economic and environmental benefits of recycling over its costs, and suggest that proponents of recycling often make matters worse and suffer from biased standards. The critics argue that costs and energy used in collection and transportation detract from and overweigh the costs and energy saved in the production process. Nevertheless, is the criticism made based on concrete evidences, and what makes the MENA region more engaged in the recycling process?
So, Mr. Baaklini, first of all, how would you define recycling and how is it different from other waste management options?
As you had mentioned in your report, recycling comes as the third stage or the third level in the pyramid of modern waste management. Mm-hmm. The pyramid itself shows as minimization of waste generation as the best option in dealing with the waste generated. So the less waste you produce, the smaller the problem that you have to deal with eventually. So if you're looking at recycling, you would look at it from a perspective where the items that you cannot, you are obliged to produce, you cannot live without, and that you cannot reuse, then you need to recycle them. Okay? So by recycling, you are, again, as you mentioned in your report, you are either recreating the same element that has been recycled or diverting this raw material into converting it into something else, a different item with a different usage. But still, at any point in time, you are conserving the qualities or the value of the waste, and you are upraising the value of what we call waste today, and we do this wrongly. Now, of course, it is not the best step to or best way to deal with waste. However, it is far better than some of the other solutions, one of which is waste disposal into landfills.
Would you say there is a single best type of waste management, or does it depend on, for example, the place, the area, the type of waste?
Actually, there is not one best way. Waste management as a whole, or the concept of zero waste, of which sprung Zero Waste Act, our program, deals with the streamline of waste and admits that there are different ways of dealing with different types of waste. So from this, we cannot say that there is one best way. There are different ways. There are wastes that cannot be recycled. There are wastes that cannot be reused. And certainly there are wastes that are hazardous, because we are not only talking about, when we say waste, we're not talking simply about domestic waste, which is non-nocive, which is not dangerous or non-hazardous. The problem goes far beyond our regular paper waste and
like
beverage cans,
et cetera,
et cetera. Industrial waste, slaughterhouse waste, wastewater, or the sewage water. All of this is waste. Now, if you look at the waste management problem from the Zero Waste Act point of view, you would find the best way to deal with this type of waste in particular, or that type of waste in particular.
So why would you say recycling is important? Why should we recycle?
Well, first of all, because it avoids your total dependency on fresh natural resources. This is very, very important. For example, when we say that we are recycling paper, by recycling 1 ton of paper, you're actually saving numbers of trees, 17, 18, etc. You're saving 30 cubic meters of water. You're saving kilowatts of energy. These are, these resources, they are continuously dwindling, and by recycling and reusing this recycled material, we are decreasing our dependency on those resources and conserving them for future generations.
So would you say that recycling is kind of a type of prevention in a way?
Well, it is a type of prevention, yes, indeed. It is a type of prevention. It decreases our immediate need for those resources and makes them last longer. Now, does it work only by itself as a standalone solution? No. Of course not.
So before we continue, can you define for us a Zero Waste Act? What exactly does Zero Waste Act do?
Right. Zero Waste Act is a project that is adopted by Contra International. It was conceived to deal with two major problems that we have here in Lebanon. One of them is waste management, and the other is conservation of energy. Both of which, those problems have been haunting us for ages now. Yeah. Now, to define Zero Waste Act, we need to define zero waste first. What does zero waste mean? Zero waste means that to divert as much waste as possible from landfills towards recycling facilities or towards different areas where this material, what we are calling as waste, or preserving it and reusing it in different fields. All right. So when we look at the situation here in Lebanon, we see that while the hierarchy says or shows that avoiding waste, reusing, recycling, conversion, and goes down the pyramid, it shows disposal as the worst case scenario. You look at the situation here in Lebanon and you find that disposal is on top of the pyramid, where less than 10% of the waste generated here in Lebanon is directed towards the landfill instead of it being sent towards recovery or recycling or
is there a certain percentage that you're trying to achieve?
Well, when we first established the program, we had, I would say, very modest expectations, and the reaction of the people who were involved with the Zero Waste Act program surprised us enormously. Yes, going after the first year, our expectations have increased a lot, and I would dare say that if you do not have targets, if you do not have an objective to accomplish, there is no way and there is no reason for you to be in a business. And essentially, Zero Waste Act is a business. It is supposed to be profitable. It is supposed to sustain, at least sustain its existence. Yeah. Now, if we do not have those objectives, if we don't have those targets, percentages, etc., there is no reason why we should continue. It's those objectives that we keep setting at higher and benchmarking them at higher and higher rates every year that keep us going.
So right now, where exactly are you headed?
No, now we are looking at the 1,000 facility mark. Today we have over 600 institutions between universities, schools, businesses. In your report you mentioned schools and universities, but effectively today we are involved also in municipal waste collection, segregation and collection. We are involved in lots of corporates or corporations here in Lebanon. The number of businesses operating with us today or being members of Zero Waste Act today exceed the 400.
We have some pictures of these actually going across the screen right now, showing what types of activities that Zero Waste Act does.
Right.
So in terms of the activities that Zero Waste Act does, how successful have you found them to be so far?
I'll tell you the reason why we have those activities first, and then I'll tell you how successful they are. Because the description is very easy. They've been enormously successful. But why do we have those activities? Actually, when Zero Waste Act was conceived, we thought that we want to not only complain about waste as a problem. We thought that we need to find the solution. And when we created Zero Waste Act, we created a complete program where we work on the awareness of the people. And this is why we started with the children in school. When we achieve this goal with the children at school, then those children are teaching or explaining the same thing to their siblings, to their families, to their immediate environment, and eventually the word will spread, and we have the best marketing tool, the kids themselves. That was why we started in the universities, in schools. Now, those activities, among the awareness campaigns that we conduct at those schools, or even now today in the corporate arena, aim to increase the awareness of the people and to entice them towards recycling more, towards segregating more, towards segregating at the source more. Today there's a very little knowledge, if you want, about the difference between segregation and segregation at the source. By segregating at the source means dealing with the waste where it is created, okay? And this saves a lot of the value that is in the waste. Now, when we do those events, I will name them the Eco Challenge and the Art Waste Contest. These are 2 yearly events that we do for the corporate people and for the students. Eco Challenge is a daily event, is a day event, one full day event that is held outdoors, where the students challenge each other. Students from all the schools that are participating in the program, they challenge each other, solving riddles and activities and going through what we call stress test in the waste management field. And at the end of the day, they are being rewarded by winning several gifts, etc.
So we'll continue talking about this right after the break, but we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Around the world, outside the mainstream, anywhere, everywhere. A media of your land, of your creation. A new media in a new era. Will it take the lead in the future? I believe so. This is Underground.
Underground, when vague turns to clarity.
Welcome back. We'll be taking a quick look at this short video that describes briefly the mission of Zero Waste Act before returning to our guest in the studio.
Zero Waste Act is a highly ambitious project aiming to divert recyclable school waste away from landfills towards recycling facilities. Through Zero Waste Act, we encourage students and teachers alike to segregate waste at the source and be proud of their act. We have so far distributed our segregation bins free of charge to 40 schools, directly reaching over 75,000 students and teachers, not to mention their families. When the bins are filled, segregated paper, plastics, and metals are sent to respective recycling facilities in Lebanon to produce recycled material. In exchange for waste, schools are rewarded with green products that help them cut down their bills substantially, making everyone a winner with Zero Waste Act and emphasizing not only reduce, reuse, recycle, but more importantly, establishing the sense of respect, responsibility, and recognition in everyone involved. Zero Waste Act is a solution by Contra International.
So, Mr. Baaklini, you saw the video, and of course, in terms of Zero Waste Act, you know exactly what the mission is. Can you tell us more about people's reaction to this mission and to these activities that you have been carrying out?
Sure. As I said in the beginning, the reaction was surprising to us. We were afraid at the beginning that the people will not adopt or embrace this solution. But as soon as we started, we had 10 schools, for example, to start with. We started the program at 10 schools. Less than a month later, the number increased to 40. And this, to us, this exponential growth, it started growing, the project started growing exponentially, and gave us the very clear indication that we are going in the right direction and that we need to move on to our next step, which is going to universities and then to the corporate world. People are willing to segregate. People are willing to recycle. They only need this direction. So they need their leaders. They need people to show them the right direction, how to do it, when to do it, and most importantly, to show them the benefits of doing it. So, contrarily to what's happening today, or what was happening earlier on, even if you had the motivation to recycle or to segregate at your home, you would find that after you have spent some time segregating your waste, you would dispose of it, and the collector or the contractor comes and mixes everything up again, and then takes them to a place where you don't know what is happening to them, what is all your efforts have gone to waste. Yeah. Now, Zero Waste Act focused a lot on this point, and when we teach the people and when we teach the students and the corporate world that the value of the waste that they are generating, and we show them that every piece of waste that they are generating goes into a certain particular product, a new product, and we give them those products back in some of the cases, etc. They know that whatever time they are spending, because they're not spending anything but time. The program is run free of charge in every school, every university, every corporate, from the distribution of the bins to the collection services. So no cost involved in running or being members of Zero Waste Act.
So some information about what we can recycle is running across the bottom of the screen right now. Can you tell us more about this issue of what we can recycle, and is it difficult to convince people that this is an easy thing to do, this is something good for the environment, this is something good for us?
Well, convincing people is not the problem. It's getting them to actually
change their habits.
To change their habits. One of the pillars of Zero Waste Act is to, as I said earlier, entice the people to segregate. And in the video that we just saw, you saw that we not only focus on reduce, reuse, and recycle, but also we have created a set of new 3 R's, which are respect, responsibility, and recognition. By respect, we are teaching people, we are helping people respect the environment and the resources that they are living in, and they are using on a daily basis. And by our 6th R, the recognition, this is what it's the gift that we give to the people who are involved with Zero Waste Act. So it is human nature that always to expect something in return. And Lebanese are not far different than, much different than anybody else in the world. Yeah. So when we do something, we are always expecting something in return. And this is what Zero Waste Act does. By segregating your waste and giving it to us, when we recycle it, you have in return, you are given in return green rewards. So your benefits not only are summarized or resumed by, okay, I'm doing my job and I'm recycling, I'm segregating the waste. No, you are receiving green rewards, for example, energy efficient lighting, solar water heating, solar air conditioning, etc. All of which they help you reduce your expenses at the end of the year if you are running an operation. And this, in fact, encourages people to commit to the program. And once they are in, they never want to leave.
Do you think, you were talking previously about how Lebanese citizens are not so different from those around the world. Do you think the fact that there's so much political turmoil or problems in the area, in the region, do you think this affects the way people see the importance of recycling? Do you think it's realistic to expect Lebanese citizens to continue to do such a thing, to commit to recycling?
We've had traffic jams for the last 100 years. Do you expect people to stop going to work? No. They will always go, and they will always complain arriving late to their meetings or to their jobs. And the problem is always traffic jam. The same thing is with waste management. The politics have nothing to do with waste management. You are not being clean or caring about the environment because you follow a certain political party or you believe in a certain political goal. So the two things are totally different. They are separate. Now, you tell me, will people care about segregation when they don't have food on the table? It also was integrated in our program when we included the recognition. So anyway, these people were throwing the waste away. And this is how we put it on the table to everybody.
So they might as well throw it away.
You might as well throw it away in a good way and benefit from what you are throwing away, because any other program or any other contractor here in Lebanon or in the region, they behave the same way. They never give you anything back for whatever you are recycling. You have to take your waste, dump it, and they come collect it, and your job ends by throwing your garbage bin. With us, your job starts ends by throwing the garbage bin. Our job starts when you throw the garbage bin, and we collect it and then recycle it and then give you the reward, because you will feel proud, we will feel proud, and this will add value to your waste, which you have never considered in a way that you have never considered before.
As kind of a final question to wrap things up, can you give us a quick overview of the arguments against recycling, and do you think that they are valid?
Some of the common arguments against recycling are that, for example, they tell you recycling is more costly than
regular waste disposal.
No, not regular waste disposal, than using the virgin material. This is absolutely a myth. I mean, it's a myth, and it's busted. It is not. It's absolutely false, because if you're, as I gave an example before, for example, one ton of aluminum, if you are recycling those beverage cans, recycling one can gives you or saves you enough energy to run your television for 3 or 4 hours. So that energy is saved. It is saved, and the can does not accumulate any additional price. So it's being sold at the same price. It is costing less. So people are, they have to be realistic and look at the value of things. Had this been true, then the price of any beverage can would continue to increase day in, day out, because the material is being recycled.
And yet it's not.
And yet it's not. So which as we said, busts the myth.
Thank you very much for joining us today. We'll be looking at a few facts about recycling. Let's say we look first at aluminum. Recycled aluminum can save enough energy to run a television for 3 hours. When we look at glass, when one glass bottle is recycled, the energy saved could light a 100-watt bulb for 4 hours. When we look at paper, a ton of recycled paper is enough to heat an average house for 6 months and can save 27 kilograms of air pollutants. When we look at plastic, recycling a plastic bottle saves enough energy to light a 60-watt light bulb for 6 hours. And finally, steel. Recycling 1 ton of steel saves 1.5 tons of iron ore and 0.5 tons of coal, and 75% of the energy needed to make new steel. So thanks to Mr. Baaklini for joining us in the studio. We'll be ending today's episode with a short video. This sums up, in 1 minute, the recycling phase, so stay tuned. This was Eco-Terrorism, and I'm Zeinab Bailoun. See you next week.
Psst. Hey, you. Do you know what recycling really means? Recycling is the process of taking things you finished using and turning them into brand new products. Why is that a good thing? Recycled products reduce the amount of garbage in landfills and save natural resources. And did you know, the first recycling center in the U.S. opened in 1896? That's more than 110 years of recycling. Recycling at home is pretty easy because many things in your home can be recycled. Did you know you can recycle plastic containers, aluminum cans, paper products, and household electronics? You can even recycle CDs, DVDs, refrigerators, and computers. Glass is an interesting material because it does not naturally decompose or break down, which means that if a glass bottle or jar makes it to a landfill, it can stay there forever. The good news is that glass is easy to recycle and it never wears out, no matter how many times it is reused. Almost every glass product you buy is made up of at least 25% recycled glass. This is a pretty cool thing about recycled materials. It almost always takes less energy to make a product from recycled materials than it does to make it from new materials. For example, using recycled aluminum scrap to make new aluminum cans uses 95% less energy than making aluminum cans from raw materials. Making a ton of paper from recycled paper saves up to 17 trees and uses 50% less water. Recycling also cuts down on pollution by reducing the energy needed to make new products.